what is basically accelerated Christian education. So before then, my name is Ruth Kerubo, and so glad that we are headed to 1,000 subscribers. So we are almost there, and it means like we are really growing as a community, and I don't take it for granted. So thank you for all who have shared, and I hope you find the content to be impactful, to be enriching, to be educative, to be edifying, to be entertaining. I know I'm not a comedian, but I can make you laugh anyway. I swear. Anyway, so today I wanted us to talk about accelerated Christian education. So this curriculum, or rather program, has been in existence uh, in Kenya since 2004. So that's around 25 years now. 21. Yeah. Then in other countries where it originated from, like in the United States, it started in it's around 56 years now. Yeah, because last year, February, it was 55 years. So since we are in February of 2025, as of the time that I'm streaming this live, we are at 56 years. So, yeah. So what was the motive? The motive was to have a program where values are imparted. In a secular world, there are people who value the Christian heritage. So they deem it best to find something suitable for their children. And in as much as this accelerated Christian education program has not been accredited, you find the schools are actually accredited. So perhaps it's due to the gaps in content, and over time, from my research, it seems it's improving, because previously you'll find they had 5 core subjects like math, science, social studies, word building, and which one else? I've forgotten the other one. But as time has went by, they get to introduce even basic literature, then there's the creative writing, blah blah blah. Yeah. So from what I read and I've watched, they say when we are looking at this accelerated Christian education, it's not to be viewed in terms of how good, hello. Yeah. So it's not to be viewed in terms of as a curriculum sort of, but we are supposed to look at the tool as a means to the end, and not the end really. So starting from the pros before we go to the cons of using that. So first of all, it's worth noting that most schools around the world don't use this A.C.E. Yeah. But we have homeschoolers who use them, and you find the people who get to execute this curriculum, or rather program, are usually supervisors and maybe a stay-at-home parent, so that they have time to create that homeschool environment sort of. Yeah. And it's worth noting that this system is based on the Christian values. It is individualistic, and it is diagnostic. So you can find actually someone being in a higher grade above their age, because maybe they are talented, let's just say so. All right, who is this? Ahon. Yay. Show me your what do we call it, flag. So yeah, so about accelerated Christian education, as I've said, it's based on Christian values. So they have over 100 Christian traits that are taught, like content, friendliness, we have gentleness, kindness, all those things, you know them. So they tend to teach children those traits, and you find it's inculcated in everything. Every learning material has a verse that is read. Maybe you want to talk about even setting of goals. They say how you God loves order, nini. So that is taught there. So if you are someone who values the Christian values, okay, not necessarily even Christian, because some will think it's just for missionaries or Christian folks, but you find there's someone, even atheists, who are interested in their children learning these values. All right. So the second thing is about the individualistic approach. So A.C.E. Is a learner-centered curriculum. So what happens? You find the child is the one who sets the goals. They get to do the work using the paces. So paces, as you'll see, is packets or packages of accelerated Christian education. All right. So they get even to mark for themselves. They recheck. Yeah. So each pace is supposed to take at least, okay, on average 3 weeks, depending on how quick or slow, or rather the pace of that child. You'll find maybe it has 55 pages, and this child maybe is doing 5 pages per day. So it means 55 divided by 5, in 11 days they'll be done. Yeah, and that takes us to another pro of the A.C.E. It means it's a bit flexible. You don't have to be in class just there waiting for days to go. You just choose what you want to learn at your own pace. There are days you can actually do even the learning in 5 hours, you're done. Why should you be in school, for example, 12 hours? It's so toxic, especially in Kenya, where you find that children, hey, a kindergarten child has been woken up as early as 5 only to reach at school at around 7:30, 8. They go for assembly or PPIs, blah blah blah. Thereafter they come to study the entire day, then they are picked around 5. That's already 12 hours. So at least for A.C.E, you just have that flexibility in terms of the hours. So another pro that I saw was on the parent, or rather the supervisor's part, is the fact that there's minimal attention given to the child. Remember, it's learner centered, so you have a minimal role. Your work is to just supervise. The fact that even they have marked their own work, yeah, they use pencils and this lovely handwriting, the cursive handwriting. We are going to discuss in the next video about importance of cursive writing. Yeah, so they mark with a red pen, then you, the supervisor, you'll use a green pen. Then below that pace, or rather worksheet, you get to sign with your initials to show that you did go through their work and they can proceed. All right, so that's good, and it ensures continuity of content, unlike in systems like 844. So we have suffered. Okay, like what used to happen for us in high school, you'll find maybe a teacher has gone for funerals. Like in Kisii, it's usually Thursday and Friday. So it means you probably will be unattended, though there is a procedure that is to be followed. You have to say early that maybe you'll be out of duty and how you're going to compensate. That is what the administrators expect of us. But sometimes, you're like, when am I going to recover that time? So you just decide to assign work or use the class induners, because some students take that opportunity, because you're absent, to make noise, to study another subject, yet it's your time. So they end up losing that lesson, especially if it's a double lesson, let's say literature or the practicals. It's gone, and we say time lost can never be recovered. So at least for A.C.E, because it's learner centered, the child knows what they should achieve by the end of the day, no matter how long or when, but they know by the end of those 24 hours they should have covered ABCD. Yeah, and set the goal for the next day, like that. Okay, another thing that I saw, which was a good thing, was that it gets to equip life skills. So yeah, because they are learning from Bible characters, people like Paul, they get to know that you can make even tents. They And that was a good thing. No, unlike some of us who are like, when I grow up, I want me to be maybe an accountant. So, and you don't have even that conviction. You just want it because maybe you have heard people saying it's a lucrative career, so you just want the money. Some because you have seen people around you do it, so you're like, I want that. Maybe they're driving good cars and that's what you do want. But with the A.C.E, you find the child actually gets to find some purpose, and they can realize their vocations as early as possible. Maybe they want to go even into things like making fashion. Someone like Tabitha, yeah, in the Bible, they can decide others to be authors, others doctors like Luke, others missionaries like Peter, Paul, you see, like Jesus' father, Joseph, who was a carpenter. So the vocation training starts really early. And like for us, you like just so theory based. You don't have content. But thanks at least to CBC, we start nurturing those life skills as early as possible. Another thing that I saw was in terms of bringing up emotional beings who are sober. Yeah. You know, the fact that a child is motivated to learn, they're not being forced. Though there are occasions where I read even from the reviews and people are like, you know, we used to be harassed. I don't know how a teacher or the supervisor gets to harass a student, yet they are teaching character traits like kindness, you know, gentleness. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, it happens because we are human. So in terms of sobriety, the child gets to know it's okay to move at a certain pace. Yeah, instead of, you know, where you're, if you missed last content, it goes on. Like in the Kenyan 844 system, it was like, if you missed, let's say, algebra 1, you'll not understand algebra 2. It goes like that. So it piles up, you can't get the content. But here, because it's the student, him or herself who sets the goal, they know what they want to know. Maybe they just want even to find the slope of a line, and they can raise the flag. That's what they use, so that they can seek clarification where they don't understand. And I think that is good, instead of wasting learners who are super bright and they just have to learn content where the average student is, and they're like, no, they get bored. At the same time, you find maybe the learner who is can we say a slow learner? No, I don't know the right word to use, but you find in such a case, the learner will tend to be discouraged because the rest are answering questions. Let's say in those math quizzes, 10 times 10, da la la la. You see everyone raising their hands, and you're just behind. You know, you're likely to develop learned helplessness. You're like, hey, I'm just so behind. Maybe I don't fit here. So at least for A.C.E, you're moving at your own pace. You don't fall behind. You're just there. And I think that's lovely. Yeah. Another thing was in terms of self-expression, the learner is able to express themselves. I think this applies to all curriculums at least. Okay, this is so intentional because they have clubs like public speaking clubs, so a child is able to express him or herself confidently, and things like lessons on word building, the English lessons, which, you know, even from the handwriting, you know, being cursive, you know, just getting crafty around it, it gets to give you some sort of identity and a means of expressing yourself, either spoken, written, print, etc. Yeah. Another pro was in terms of emphasis on extracurricular activities. Unlike 844, where it was academics and academics, the core business in this school is academics. You must go above 350. At least here, students are encouraged to engage in extracurricular activities, sports, games, clubs, what do we call this, community community work. So yeah, it helps um to build even their esteem. That's how they get to work in teams. I know some people raise concerns about the socialization part, especially if it's done at a home school, but that is not a big reason to worry, because there are conventions. You find there are these symposiums, the spelling word bars, a lot of things where they can get to interact. So they are zoned together and they get to interact. Yeah. Another thing is that it is holistic. So I think I'm sold out maybe at some point with this A.C.E. Where they say, it's I think in Luke chapter 2 verse 52, and Jesus grew in stature and in favor with God and man. You see? So in as much as a child is growing physically, they also need to grow socially, they need to grow spiritually, and that's what A.C.E. aims at, especially on spiritual emphasis. Yeah. So you'll find this devotion even before the normal classes. If it's on academics, they are engaged in academics and it's at their own pace, so they are really growing in all aspects, instead of a person who is just an academician with nothing else to offer. So I think for someone who is holistically developed, they tend to fit in the modern world. You know, you can't just be knowing maybe only about academics, yet you can't even wash your underwears. Who do you want to do that? You can't clean after yourself. So it's good when you have someone who is all round. Yeah, they get to fit everywhere, they are disciplined, etc. Another thing was that it is the students tend to be outstanding because of the mastery of content, as well as the fact that, you know, if they never understood a concept, it keeps on being repeated until they get. Actually, sometimes you can decide to repeat the whole piece. Yeah. So in my college, we're being taught that the more you get exposed to something, you repeat over and over, it tends to stick. It gets to influence and shape even how you think, how you imagine things. So that's why for the A.C.E. graduates, they'll tend to be smart. Actually, even in the these standardized exams, they'll get above average. Yeah, in as much as we're saying that some of the content could be a bit contradictory, they do excel because they have been prepared well, adequately. Another thing that I saw is that it is colorful, and that motivates the learner. You know, they use bright colors, and I wish we had such. No, in our time we just used to have black and white. What? And it will get messy. But I think the fact that they have that colorful approach, so even the students get to be motivated to learn. Yeah. Another thing is that it emphasizes on work ethics. If there's something missing in today's world, it's ethics, ethos. So the fact that these children or learners have been exposed to some of the Christian virtues like honesty, integrity, they know they don't have to grease hands to get jobs. They don't have to compromise on their dignity. And this is what some of us shy from saying. Yeah, the rate at which the moral fabric in the society has been rotten is really wanting. So it's good that for A.C.E. they're standing at least for the right thing. Yeah, and they say if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for nothing. So that's a good thing. People who are hardworking, people who are committed, people who are kind even at the workplace, people who are understanding. Who doesn't want to work with such a person? So yeah, and especially on hard work. I know you have been told to work smart, but you cannot underestimate hard work. Industry wins in whatever area that you are in. Yeah, because even God gets to bless the work of our hands. If we are lazy, we're not going to get anything. So for A.C.E, the fact that it emphasizes on work ethics, it's a plus. Yeah. Another thing that I saw is that it makes children to be purpose driven. Excellent. Some people out here don't even know what their purpose, why they are here. It's just like they dropped, and that's why most end up killing themselves, because they don't know why they are here. eh? So it's good when someone has a purpose, because they somehow will tend to work towards achieving that purpose. Right, having said that, want to go into the cons that I got to see. One, legal framework. In as much as the accelerated Christian education program has been rolled out in 145 countries plus, there are countries, especially in Africa, that are still struggling with the legal framework. And what that means is that transition becomes hard. Yeah, because when you look at this A.C.E, it usually covers primary and secondary. Yeah, so where do you go to for higher education? So and that's where we need to have conversations with the education stakeholders, like the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. We need to involve the school proprietors so that we know what is the way forward, because we can't live like that, because there are people, yeah, who feel like A.C.E is the best option. But for like for Kenya, things are improving. I saw someone who joined Daystar, yeah, and there was the fact that have to send the A.C.E results to the KNQF. I think that is the Kenya National Qualification, blah blah blah. Yeah, so they are converted to the equivalent of different systems depending on what you want. Maybe you want them to join, let's say, local campuses or international campuses. That is also possible. There is also the issue that the parents now have to transit the children to the local program that is offered, because they find there are some educational gaps in the A.C.E. Like in geography, biology, we talk about adaptation, and we usually emphasize on evolution theory. Yet, for A.C.E, it emphasizes mostly on the creationism, or rather the creation theory. Yeah, so due to that compromises, you'll find in the secular world, or if your markers are going to be atheist, they will not believe your answers. They will not mark it right, and you'll have a lower score. So that's the first disadvantage with that. The second disadvantage, which is also a good thing, is in terms of that it is dogmatic in nature. So a child could seem so preachy once they have been introduced to A.C.E. Everything must be tagged with Christ. Even doing math, 1 plus 1 is equivalent to 2. Such kind of things. Yet math is math, science is science, okay? The advantage is, in terms of character building, that dogmatism helps a big time. Yeah. The other thing is about the controversial stuff. So like prophecy, history, we have the new world, old world, such kind of things. So there's that compromise, but you realize there's no perfect curriculum. So you just find ways to bridge the gaps. Maybe use other curriculums, like you can use a substitute like the K-12. You can use the IG system, the British national curriculum. Yeah, there are many curriculums that you can use to substitute those gaps if you feel there is a gap. Yeah. Another thing was in terms of isolation, but I think this depends with the parent. If you're so intentional about ensuring that your children get socialized, yeah, get them involved in things like cleanups. Yeah, they go to church or whichever places where they can have fellowship with others. Let them learn about, because how are you going to apply all these character traits if you don't interact with people? So let them know we are social beings, yeah, and we need to interact. So yeah, so in as much as I was seeing someone lamenting, oh, the ACE made me isolated, because it's true. You know, you're just in your own cubicle learning, marking for your own self. I think if it was me, I'll be having sleep attacks. I don't think there will be learning that would have taken place. But anyway, for the few times that I was in campus and I will take myself to the library, even in a cubicle, I didn't sleep. So I think it works over time, depending on what your motivation is. So there's that tendency to be isolated because you're now with books. You're just in maybe the home environment. But it's good to open up to the outside world, to just get even about people's different world viewpoints. Yeah, to open up your mind. For those who have been maybe in the homeschooling environment until now, the time they had to transit for higher education, I think it's also an exciting time for them to get to explore. They'll be so excited. Wow. So you guys have someone even in front of you, the lecturers teaching you. You have tutors. I think they'll be so excited to have that. They'll be excited to even have group works, you know, working with others. Unlike previously where they were like, you know, you just have to study on your own, no making noise, such kind of thing. The other thing is the foreign curriculum. Being foreign, it means that some of the content could not be relevant in terms of cultural context. You know, like I was reading the Bible, and you find for apples, the English version could be saying something like an apple, then you find in Kiswahili they have translated to something else. So yeah, so such kind of things. Maybe you're talking about as geography, as a geography teacher, I could be teaching about snow. I could be teaching about the 4 seasons, that is spring, autumn, winter, yeah, summer. We don't have that in most African countries except Egypt and South Africa. So it can be a big deal trying to teach a child about this. How do they even get, they have not seen it, you understand? So that could be a problem, but it's a good way for them to even um, to have an aroused curiosity about what exists out there. Like maybe for me, I've never been to France, but have been hearing about the Eiffel Tower. So I'll be so excited to learn more about it, and I'll be eager to have an opportunity to go there. So that's a pro thing, depending on how people get to see it. Another thing is about the fact that there is no teacher. So this could be good or bad. It's good for a child who is self-regulated. They have self-efficacy. But for someone who has to be followed up and down, like the choleric, sorry, they will be struggling, you know. Yeah, that could be a challenge. Another con is the difficulty to execute. Yeah, because again of the cultural context being different. Like in Kenya, we find that we no longer have the provinces, instead we have counties. So yes, that is the challenge that will be there, but I think, you know, just getting to explain to them, they will understand. The same way, you know, for those who are in the early 844, they used to be told we had 9 planets. Along the way, we are saying we have 8 planets. And Why 8 instead of 9? And we say it's because Pluto is a dwarf planet. They will understand. Children are receptive. Yeah, to knowledge as long as you explain. Yeah. All right. Another thing is in terms of okay, there is more emphasis on one's weakness than their strengths. Because tell me why you have to do diagnostic test. Okay, apart from the fact that to know where you're lying so that you can know which sequence of paces that you need for the next package, I think sometimes there is need to recognize the strengths of a child such that they feel motivated. One, another thing, their self-esteem will be boosted. Yeah. um Another thing that I saw many people had a challenge with is the fact that there was limited content. So they say that the content is not that much for a TikTok generation. So what do? We increase the content, sindio? Yeah. So that is what can be done. Another thing is limited disclosure by the proprietors. Sometimes you find in some countries you're not told the truth, especially how hard it will be to transition. Ebu imagine like now in Kenya we have the NEMIS. So a child who has been locked at home will find it hard to know progress because they don't have that unique identifying number. So I don't know, maybe you should be attached to a host academy, or I don't know what can be done about it, but well, that is how the current state of affair is. The other disadvantage is that it is costly. And okay, when the A.C.E was made, it was meant to be cheap, at least, and affordable to people. You realize because it involves purchasing pieces, usually from abroad, add the shipping cost, it makes it expensive. And the fact that it's a disposable curriculum, you know, what I used maybe for my daughter, the same pace, after they are done with it, you know, it will be thrown away, or they just file it for their own stuff. I cannot use it for maybe my son, for another daughter, etc. However, you can be innovative and creative. Maybe get to reproduce. I believe we know how to reproduce documents, like photocopying. Yeah. So you can get to reproduce the material so that you can use it for other members. Or you can use the e-paces to reduce even wastages. We can use the e-paces so that they are online. It makes it even easier to mark. Yeah, you can even get to monitor as an admin. For many students, just online. You don't have to have physical contact to the learners. Another thing is that hey, the excessive religion. Yeah, I've already said that in terms of the religious dogma. And what I got from what people are saying as to why they have reservations concerning A.C.E is because of that excessive religion. They don't understand why for every learning thing you just have to involve a Bible. What are you trying to prove? Okay, apart from learning the values. So they found that it becomes toxic. And some went ahead to say, hey, hefty words. Some were saying that it is subtly racist. It subtly brings in classes, especially if you can't afford it. And the fact that there are those characters that are growing with the child, like sijui Christy nini. So you'll find people had that reservations because they're like, no, this is not how the world works. Sometimes you just need to have real education. Not really education. Okay, basically it was a clash between idealists and realists. Yeah, so that was the problem, because someone be like, for example, for an economic problem, you don't have money, definitely you have to go to work, right? Or find a solution that people, or a service that people are willing to pay for, and you get the money. But you'll find in that curriculum they'll be like, oh, pray over it. Okay, in as much as prayers are impactful and God gets to bless the work of our hands, we should not downplay the role of hard work, like I had said earlier on. Yeah, we should not, yes, forget that it's God who trains our hands. Okay, for those who believe in God, or rather the universe, whatever you believe in, you see, that's where already the problem becomes in, because of that religious dogma. So it means the A.C.E will not appeal to everyone, yeah, especially if they don't believe in existence of God. Yeah, so there's that clash that happens, and the fact that there are some things, like in the Bible, okay, from an SD background, usually we didn't even have pastors who are women, because someone will go and quote like, a woman is not supposed to stand before a woman, before a man, and such kind of things. And in today's world, they may not be applicable if you start teaching a child about, or rather demonizing feminism and the roles. So I don't know what we can do about it. Maybe we can just be tolerant about gender roles. Yeah, like, it's okay, no, for even a guy to go into the kitchen and cook. Why not? It's okay for me to go and maybe make a wall, you know, because that's the world that we're living in. We can't just be teaching our children. Okay, that is the ideal that was there, but we now have different needs. So yeah, we just have to see a way of um, fitting in, irrespective of our religious beliefs, if that makes sense. So yeah, and concurrently, there are those who are arguing about that the place of a woman is in the kitchen, but to realize even the cartoons that were used in those A.C.E learning materials, they tend to portray women who are career women. Yeah, they are working. So it depends how you view it. So it's a matter of viewpoints, yeah, and everyone has a right to their opinion and they're entitled to it. Okay, A.C.E is pathetic, it is hostile, it is flawed. What else did I get? It is controversial, it is rigid, it is full of indoctrination. They could be right, they could be wrong, so it depends with our how we perceive things, right? But just to summarize this live, all I wanted to say is that if you want to consider A.C.E, go for it, especially if you're interested in your children learning about values, Christian values in particular. Yeah, and choose a curriculum, or rather program, that is suited to your needs. If your family goal, for example, is to have children who have character, you can consider it. If you just want children maybe to have to be equipped for work, consider, for example, the government programs like CBC 844, yeah. So if you want maybe for the networks, you know where to go. And another thing, pray for guidance, or rather for those who don't pray and they believe in intuition, use your intuition. Yeah, tap into it so that you do what is best for you. So let's not be guided by emotions. Let's do proper research before we get into something. And yes, ask questions. It is not wrong to even seek third opinion until you're satisfied, because at the end of the day you want the very best for our children. There are some people who are just into business. They might not tell you the cons, but it's your duty to know what you want. And as a stakeholder, let's say as a parent, you need to be vigilant so that you know what exactly to do. For example, if you have a problem with the Bible reading, which leads to indoctrination, you can find a substitute curriculum, or rather a replacement of that. Yeah, so some of the problems we can get to customize our solutions. And just to say, A.C.E is good, especially if you want someone who is organized, someone who is goal oriented, because this is what I got from the way they set their goals. Yeah, so the goal setting methodology is as follows. You score the day's work, what you had set yesterday, the goal. So today you do that work and you score the day's work. You do corrections, then you restore, then you set goals for the next day. Yeah, and it continues like that. Even if it's in terms of arranging your locker, or rather your office as they call it, you can have your goal card maybe on the right hand side. You can have your open paces, the corrective sheets, the parental envelopes where they have that places where they can get to put the records. Another thing, for A.C.E, you need to be good at record keeping, especially in a high school level, because they look at the cumulative GPA, cumulative grade point aggregate. So what have you been scoring over time? And I think that is a good thing, unlike where you're judged for 2 hours for what you have been doing for maybe 4 years. Unlike our KCSE, KCPE, I think that's a good thing, so that you get to have a comprehensive view how this child has been. So that's what they use to gauge where you would go to the next level. Then you get your certification. Yeah, so I believe you have learned. Let's continue engaging. Yeah, until next time, bye bye. If you have any questions, you can drop them. Right, let me read your messages. American. So yeah, I'm from Kenya. All right. Mintero, where are you from? I'm from Kenya. Yeah.